Welcome to the podcast with your favorite cash flow guys, Mike and Blaine. Giving you the best advice while having a beer. When you're running a business, there are problems every day. Let Mike and Blaine help you out and guide your way. Cheers to the good times with Mike and Blaine for business, beer, and BS.
Hey, it's Mike and Blaine. It's episode 202. I'm Mike Marlin, also known as Cash Flow Mike. That is my friend, my partner, and co-founder and CEO of Dry Run, the best cash flow forecasting software on the planet. Blaine Birch, what's up, man?
200 episodes, and I still sometimes forget to click live when the jingle comes up, and I'm hearing it. It's blaring in my ears. I'm watching it, and I can hear you say something else. I'm like, oh no, I forgot to kick it off.
Yeah, I'm like going, are you starting? Is it going to start? What? I mean, I can't hear it. You're like going, you're dancing. You're like,
That's yeah. So those of you listening live, yeah, that's how come it looks so dumb when we started. But for those of you watching later, that's why it looks good, because I cut that part out. So,
what do you think is the percentage of clean starts we've had? 20?
conservatively. Oh man, you're optimistic. Yeah, I could say 20. I could live with 20, and then 80% just a bit of a shit show every time we try and kick this thing off.
Now I know why sometimes you've seen the big shows, they will actually start the show like in the middle of a conversation. Like they're already started, like you missed like the first couple of sentences or whatever, and they've already started. I think they just said, hey, hell with it. It's too hard to try to time this stuff. just go. We're going to start. And who cares? You'll catch up.
Well, I noticed that on our streaming platform, some of them start almost immediately, and then LinkedIn takes like forever. So that's probably LinkedIn will start mid-conversation and stuff. So it's
I've been trying to do these Facebook Live things. So using Zoom live stream. I didn't know I could only do one at a time. So, and it screwed me up where everything I do on Facebook goes to my personal page. So who the hell wants to see that if you're my personal page? We were high school friends, or you're my daughter. I mean, who wants to see that? I need it to be on the other page. I don't know how to get it over to the other page.
I have no idea. I have no idea. That's all. That's what YouTube's for. You look it up, or AI today. Actually, just ask Chelsea, and she'll tell you what it is.
Yeah. So today we're talking about us, right? We're talking about owners. We're talking about, sometimes where you feel like you're out on an island by yourself. What do you do? How do you handle that? How do you what's out there for you, and why do we feel so lonely at times? So that's what we're about. But to get there, if you know about the show, it's business, beer, and BS. So what you drinking, man?
Well, today, because of the topic we're diving into, like you said, it's like who's got the boss's back, and so I picked up. I'm doing the Establishment 2 weeks in a row, but they just got great beer. The Establishment out of Calgary, but it's Tidal Wave, which just seemed really fitting for today. It's a West Coast IPA, delicious beer, really really good beer. I'm a huge fan of the Establishment, and just seemed like just bang on. How about you?
Yeah, well, we said it was okay to double up on the brewery, right? We already said that because we tried our first year. We tried to you have to have a new brewery every week. We kind of run through them in 5 seasons, especially where you live.
We could always get more. Yeah, that's the tricky part. Trying to get people like breweries from around where you live. That's where you start to run out. Now, we would never run out of craft breweries, but you start to get your favorite beer and your favorite breweries, and I keep buying the same stuff.
All right, so I got lucky this time. Usually you hit the nail on the head with your beer. I don't know how you do it, but every week it's like on whatever the topic is, you got one in the fridge, right? That just kind of connects. I think I got lucky this time, right? So, and here's how I got lucky. I'm thinking every once in a while you just need a big bear hug, right? Just give me a big bear hug, right? So I'm drinking Goose Island, the beer hug. Nice. So I'm going to give every owner out there a beer hug today, because that's where we're at. Goose Island's got the hazy IPA. They call it the beer hug. I'm like, going, perfect. I'm giving you a beer hug.
Bang on. That's bang on. So, we got to thank our beer sponsors. You can tell this is partly it's the middle of summer, and I think we're both in summer brain mode. we'll get dialed in September, but we're in summer mode here. But we still have 5 beer sponsors. Almost all of them going through to the end of the year. So like Rachel Barnett from Gentle Frog, she's going to the end of the year. If you have a small business, you're likely using QuickBooks Online and you need to know how to use it properly, go to gentlefrog.com, or better yet, go to her YouTube channel at Gentle Frog, and you will see a ton of videos explaining how to use QBO.
Yeah, and yesterday Karen Hairston joined me on a meeting, right? She actually came to one of my Wednesday morning meetings, and so it was great to see her. And I told everybody who was on the meeting, if you're going to be in Orlando, go check out Karen Hairston's speech session topic. What do they call that? Those things? Talk. I don't know. When you go to a conference and you get to hear somebody talk, go listen to her, because I'm telling you, she knows all about process diagramming. She knows about cash flow. She knows about accounting. She is with 3S Smart Consulting out of Michigan. Her name is Karen Hairston. Go check her out. If you're having trouble with your business, you will not regret a conversation with her.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And Larry Weinstein, CPA, best CPA in Houston, Texas. So if you were looking for a CPA, go look up Larry Weinstein, the cash flow cowboy. He'll get you all settled.
Do you know Larry sends me just a pick me up text every day, right? And believe it or not, I need to give you the link. His dogs are up for like some calendar or photo thing, and he dressed his dogs up in cute little stuff, and I voted for his dog. So that's one way we can help the cash flow cowboy is, and I'll put it on the link. I'll give you the link right after this. Yeah. Go vote for Teddy, and I forget the other dog's name now. And he's going to hate me because he knows Mozzie and he calls him the cash flow Frenchie, but he's got the cash flow Cocker Spaniels. Yes. So nice. Go check him out. Go vote for his folks. I mean, because it's just a fun thing, to do. And his dogs are cute.
Yeah, for sure. And I got to thank neighbor Pat, who was our guest a couple of episodes ago and was talking about just some of his thoughts about maybe opening up a brewery or commercializing his beer. Huge beer buff, always bringing beer down your way. And keeping us flush in beer. Well, keeping you flush in beer. It's too far up in here for him to send me beer, but anyway,
the border stuff, there's probably tariffs on it. Who knows what's going to happen? Oh, hey, is Justin Trudeau dating Katy Perry? I heard that today. Is that true?
Oh man, I have no idea, and there's no way I would probably know that, because I suspect I wouldn't be looking up either
I didn't look up either. I mean, it just kind of popped across my feed. I said, you know who's going to know? Oh, Blaine, he's Canadian.
No idea.
Yeah. Hey, that's the only way he's going to stay relevant, I guess, is dating, Katy Perry. It's not too bad. It's not too bad. He's doing pretty good if he's dating Katy. I mean, he's not doing too bad.
Yeah, I don't know. No comment. There's probably not a politician in the world that I just don't really want to hear from. So it's just.
So what's funny is that I was at the banking school last week, right? And of course, the thing that was in the news cycle then was the Coldplay thing.
Oh yeah,
do you remember that? Yeah. It was just. I mean, you've made it. When the Simpsons are doing memes of you and everything like that, you made it. Yeah. I don't know how many lives got crushed in one kiss cam. Think about it. Just one image.
At least 2.
Yeah. Well, now that their families, right? Their families, the business, because the CEO, even the co-founder wouldn't come back and run the company. He's like, no, I'm out of that. And then I didn't know this. The company hired or worked with Coldplay's ex-wife, Gwyneth Paltrow, and did this big, I don't know, some type of advertisement, kind of almost making light of it, making fun of it. But it was the Coldplay guy's ex-wife actually trying to help the CEO's company. It's like
I
a craziness.
I am very much, I think, out of the pop culture loop because, and I kind of know how that happens because I have news feeds on my iPad and things like that. And when a lot of, I'll be honest with you, a lot of the pop culture stuff comes in, I just show less, show less, show less, block them, and so I get annoyed really easily about the, like, why are you in my news feed, and then I'll just block them. And so now I think I'm probably way out of date on anything pop culture. So
Yeah, but let's think about that. When we're talking about today, like, CEOs or founders that need support. Well, what do you do when you see your CEO that? All they had to do was nothing, and probably nothing would have happened. All they had to do was nothing. Yeah, and nothing would happen. Nobody's going to post. Yeah, they just act natural. It's kiss cam. We just kiss, right? If you're having an affair and you're out caught like that, just kiss and then move on. Nobody's posting that online.
no,
If it looks normal,
it probably is hard to do that on a spur of the moment, I'm guessing. So
yeah, the thing that I thought was bad is the other girl that was there worked for the HR director, the woman involved,
okay,
who also worked for the CEO. Oh, you didn't know that? It was the CEO and the HR director or chief people officer.
I heard that, but I didn't know there's other people there and stuff.
Yeah. Somebody that worked in the HR department was also there. So now your affair is like really kind of like an open secret in that.
It's weird.
It's really weird. It's really weird. Yeah. So again, all three of them had to do was nothing, and nobody would have known.
So was this yeah, exactly. Was this a CEO that was like a founder based, or was he a hired gun CEO? Do you know?
No, he was a founder. He had a co-founder, and then he was running the company, and it's one of those companies that I don't know, data security or something like that. Nobody even really knows. It's just one of those things that you need, and probably it's very vital, but we're not buying from them. Maybe a bigger company or another software company or something like that buys from them. You know what I mean? It's one of those things that's it's like 5 levels ahead of us where we never see it.
Well, and the reason I asked that is because, and just kind of diving into our topic a little bit today, I think we're talking a little bit about the pressure that are on entrepreneurs, and really since COVID hit, and even just over the last year or so, I talk with other entrepreneurs all the time, and the level of stress and pressure and everything is absolutely immense. The failure rate is absolutely immense. I'll go into a couple of stats just to relate to that, and I think there's a massive lack of support for the entrepreneur. Just like there's support for everybody, not the entrepreneur. And I think this is a good example of why. Because this knucklehead, everyone starts to go, yeah, entrepreneurs, like CEOs are all like that. No, that guy was. But the ones that make the news are the billionaires. So they think everyone's an entrepreneur is rich. It's like, no, that's almost none. Like, and I'll go through some stats to prove that. But that's the public's perception. And that's why I think entrepreneurs oftentimes don't say anything. They keep their head down and suffer in silence. And I think like we're going to get into a little bit of this topic today because I think it's really good for entrepreneurs to talk to each other about these things because they're the only ones that care, the only ones that support them, probably their family and other entrepreneurs, right?
Yeah, so let's start it off by just saying why we think this is even important. Because I think that's where it starts. Like, why do you need support? You got all the stuff, you make all the decisions, you do all the things, right? Yeah. But it's one of those things where it is a lonely position, right? Because nobody really understands. I don't care if you live on the other side of the house from me, right? Meaning your office is over there, like Courtney, right? She lives in a house. Mm-hmm. She doesn't sit in this chair and make these decisions. She doesn't see what I see. Yep. She doesn't understand this because she has her own life and she's doing her own thing. And I'm probably just as guilty as not being as understanding what she's going through. But it's a lonely thing. And that's why you see a lot of these, groups starting, not starting, they've been happening, but people gravitate towards, I need somebody to talk to about this because I think it's the loneliness and the feeling of there's nowhere to get help. And I want to push on that today. Is there really nowhere to get help, or are we afraid to go ask for help?
Yeah, I think there's a couple different buckets that I think that we have to look at. There's the mental strain and the financial strain. And I think those are two different places that are pretty hard to get help. One might be a little bit easier. But I think there's, what I want to do is I want to actually go through a few stats here, because if you're an entrepreneur, you won't be surprised by any of this. In fact, you'll just go, yeah, no, for sure. If you're not an entrepreneur, and you're probably going, oh, what is spoiled Blaine talking about? Because I think that's what a lot of non-entrepreneurs think. Think about this. If this was a different category, a different profession, how would people think about it versus an entrepreneur? So first of all, I'm going to give you some business stats before I get into some of the mental health stats. So small business. So these are what I would say are the high probability, slightly easier businesses than like a tech startup that's super high risk. So these are the easy ones. 30% of new businesses fail within their first year. 50% die before their fifth year. 70% die before their 10th. But I want to make it clear, especially those 30% in the first year and even the 50%, those business owners have a massive financial hit. A lot of them, if they're struggling, they're not paying themselves. They're building up debt. They're losing. They're going bankrupt. Some are going bankrupt. But tech companies, that's the startups that everyone thinks are the big sexy ones, the billionaires and the Musks and the Bezos and all the ones that they all hate and everything. Only 10% achieve long-term success. But that isn't even always for the founder, because a lot of those businesses that they say actually got success, the founders were bumped out by investors or the board long before they found success. So on the flip side, there's some businesses that I think actually become profitable and become successful, but the investors think they're not successful because they don't actually exit. So it balances out, but 10% success rate. Venture-backed startups that get all those millions of dollars you see in the newspapers all the time, 75% of them fail. They don't even have a very good rate of success. So I wonder, so we'll talk about that. I'm going to go into some other stats a little bit later about sort of mental health issues that are related to that, but does that surprise you at all?
What surprises me is that 70% at 10 years fail? What was that? I thought it was closer to 90 some percent, I think, it probably, I don't know. That's what I thought, but here's what comes to me, right?
Tech startups, I think it is. With established type businesses, I think now, first of all, these are the stats I'm getting to, but yeah, you're right. That's actually likely a very conservative number. And I think it actually maybe cuts out high risk tech startups as well.
All right. Here's the thing that nobody talks about. Even though you exist doesn't mean you make money. That just means you're still open. Right. So, I mean, and you and I know very well from working with folks. I mean, I could struggle and limp along for years and maybe never make money, but I don't quit yet.
Happens all the time. Yeah, absolutely happens all the time. Yeah. Like, from like my first business, we were profitable all the time. Like we were. I didn't realize how precious that was. I didn't realize how hard that was to accomplish. We just did, right? Tech startup land is a lot different. Staff are paid every single time, right? Staff are paid first, never missed a payment. They all make their money. Government is paid because they take those payroll taxes every single month. If someone's going to get hit, it's me, right? Like, and I was talking with a CFO of this week of a mid-market business, and this is like, I don't know, $20-30 million, but like a pretty substantial business. And I was talking with the CFO, and one of the things we were talking about is when they have timing issues, they have to know because the owner takes their personal money and puts it in. And they go, usually we can give it back by the end of the month. This is a big business. It's been around a while. The owner is putting cash in to cover things like payroll. When there's shortfalls, nobody knows that. But the CFO is just like, and it doesn't even surprise us. Like, well, yeah, of course. Like, this is what you got to forecast. Like, that's part of it. That just happens, and it happens at a lot of levels of business, right?
Well, and I can tell you how it happens a lot of times. So last year, December, I'm like going, shit, I'm gonna get hit with some taxes.
Yep.
So I overinvested to increase expenses, and so I pre-bought some sponsorships. That was supposed to be investment for this year. And I'm gonna tell you what, January, February, March was hard because I overinvested and sucked a bunch of cash out of the business, right? And I'm just now, it's July, August. I'm just now starting to recoup and get back to normal. But it was one of those things. I'm like going, really? To save taxes, I sucked a bunch of cash out of the business. I'm cash flow Mike. I know better. But for whatever reason, I decided to do it. And I took too much out, invested in a couple of different events, overinvested, I think, to have the expense, thinking, oh, it will pay itself off next year. The first one didn't. The first one didn't pay it off, right? So I'm just now. I thought I would have my money back, and I don't, right? Yep. So I'm thinking the second one is September that I bought last December will pay off. It's tough, man.
You're taking chances all the time, and margins are always tight for virtually every business. Margins are incredibly tight, and the buck always stops at the business owner. And like for us, even in dry run, and you and I've had this conversation offline a little bit, and I'm like, we've had to do a couple pivots, and I'm like, we've never had momentum like we do now. We've never had the pull like we do now. We've never had all of this great things happening from customers, potential customers that we're talking with. And it feels like we've never had less support. Yeah. Like it feels like there's always someone with a gun to my head when this is a time there should be support. Right. And okay. So I want to just, and again, like this is just the reality. We're not, I don't want to drag the show down or anything, but I want people to know. And if you're an entrepreneur out there and you're struggling, in fact, a really good friend of mine a couple of weeks ago, I told you this, we were having beer and he just said, yeah, being an entrepreneur, and he was said in Canada, but really just being an entrepreneur in Canada, he said, you just go from levels of constant anxiety to levels of panic. That's it. You don't get below this constant level of anxiety.
All right. So besides money, where does the anxiety come from? Besides money?
Well, I'll just right off the top of my head, like there's issues with staff, and there's always struggles with that. There's issues with customers where things go wrong. There's issues with suppliers that it can be stressful, even though now number one is money. Virtually everything or a lot of things roll down to money, but in the last probably the last about year and a half, I've had 3 friends of mine have all been hacked by overseas hackers. The amount of stress they went through was epic. And again, it falls right onto their.
Hey, we got attacked. Remember just a couple of weeks ago, I got attacked. Ooh. And it was doing nothing but slowing my site down, but that caused me undue stress, and it sucked up hours, just fucking hours of my time that I could have been doing something productive. It just sucked up my hours.
These ones I've been talking with are weeks and months. In fact, I talked with a friend of mine the other day. Fortunately, it wasn't his business, but there was a client of his that got hacked. And I'm trying to remember, it was like how many thousands of dollars. And it was like, oh, we got lucky. It only cost us 10 grand or something to get out from under it. And which is actually really light. I want to just go through this. I've seen a little bit more lately too on LinkedIn and online, and that talking about mental health of entrepreneurs. I found an article that it was one of the ones that also just twigged in my brain. So I went and found this article, and somebody wrote, so I apologize. I don't remember who it was. But there's basically 10 or 11 points. I'm only going through 5 because they're all rough, right? But there's some highlights. 72% of founders struggle with mental health. Doesn't surprise me. The only thing that surprised me is like actually like, what is that? 28% that don't realize it. 54% of founders are very stressed about their business, with the fear of failure being the main stressor, because that's also this thing hanging over your head of failure. You know, other people can kind of quit the job, go get another job next week. Founders can't do that. You can rarely walk away. Here's the interesting one, and this is why I wanted to talk about it a little bit. 81% of founders hide their stresses, fears, and challenges from others. 81%. So if you haven't heard that entrepreneurs, virtually everyone is suffering, it's because they don't say anything. But I do find that when I'm out with other entrepreneurs, they'll say something. It's like a fraternity. So the one thing I want to mention, if you're an entrepreneur out there and you're struggling at all, find other entrepreneurs to go and talk with. 77% of founders refuse to seek qualified professional help. And here's the one that I'm like, yep, this is the most sort of obvious stat. 93% of founders would do it all again. That's exactly it. That's just freaking bang on. It's like you take it, and it's just like, yeah, I wouldn't do anything else. You hear that all the time, right?
So is it a gambler mentality? Like I keep getting my ass kicked, but I'm going to do that again because I don't want to go. Because remember, entrepreneurship is about, I'm going to work on my dream, not somebody else's. So you already think that way. This is my dream. This is what I want to do. If I'm doing it for somebody else, I'm working on somebody else's dream, not mine.
Yeah. And I couldn't make that transition. I think a lot of, and I know that it doesn't matter how stressful, how hard, entrepreneurs obviously fail, like tech entrepreneurs at a 90% rate. And you know what? I'm the same thing. I'm like the idea of going to work for somebody else in an office somewhere, like, and like you said, build on someone else's dream. I'm like, I couldn't do it. I want to, I don't know what it is. It's like the people that, I don't know, triathlons or Ironman. I don't know what they probably have the same mentality. It's like, you just drive and you just want to do it. I don't know why.
You know what's funny is that reminds me of Courtney and I met up with another couple, and they invited us out to the lake. And the day that we were going to go all get on a boat. So we go down to the boathouse, and one of their friends is there, and he owns some type of insurance company or something like that, agency. And he's talking to me, and he hasn't even asked me what I do or whatever. And he just said, "Hey, you got a good personality. I think you could do this. I bet in the next year or two, well, you could be making $100,000 a year if you come work for me." I'm like, going, "That's it?" and the guy, it stunned him. He's like, going, "What?" I'm like, going, "Yeah. Once you've had big wins, that's not big money anymore. That's like, in 2 years, I can make that much. I can make that this year."
And it's amazing what, like, money is the biggest stressor and can be and it's also to some degree the least valuable. Like, in a lot of ways, I'm like, I don't care about the money. I want to build something that I feel like matters. That gives me, like, we matter, and I've done something that matters. And, that says so much more to me than money. I've just never been, I've never been sort of obsessed with money, but somehow I've managed to make it. Even if not, honestly, all through my businesses, but I've always managed to make money.
See, there you go. That's an entrepreneur sticking to his knitting, doing the thing that he likes, the thing that he wants to do in his life. And if you're an entrepreneur out there right now and you need help and you don't want the stress of whatever, money or data that you can't understand, and you want to make sense of it, I say go look at dryrun.com and make sense of your financial data and put more money back in your pocket. So that's not a worry you'll ever have again. Am I right?
Yeah. Come and talk with us at Dry Run. We talk with CFOs every day. We also talk with a lot of CEOs, and the ones that hit us closest to the heart are our founder CEOs, right? Of course, even though like I know there's also manager CEOs, but there's always the founders that I really I can identify with. And it's amazing to me how many of them are flying blind on their cash flow, on their revenue, on understanding where they should go with their business. And there's a lost opportunity cost. And we're talking lost opportunity costs that, depending on the size of the business, can be millions of dollars because you don't know what's happening with your business. There's a way to remedy that. There's a way to be able to take all this messy data you have your finance team equipped and say, let's take that day or two a week that the finance team's spending in spreadsheets and say, let's get data faster. Let's get forecasts we can all understand. And let's get everybody dealing with strategy so that the business can really thrive. And that's what we can do at Dry Run. So especially if you're a CFO, mid-market business, come and see us. We are going to help you get out of those spreadsheets and equip that management team to get through the storms that we're dealing with now and come out the other side with some life.
Yeah, just go do it. I mean, if you get messy data and you want to make sense of it, go to dryrun.com. I mean, that's the easiest way I can tell you. I want to push on a stat. It's stuck in my brain. I can't get past it. Is when you said, was it 80% don't tell anybody?
81%,
right?
81.
Don't tell him.
Don't say anything.
All right. So I think that's low.
You're probably right.
Personally, right? So because the stat that I use when I'm teaching is about, I just used it last week at the banking school. I'm like, hey, listen, you're only going to hear from 3% of the people that have a problem with you. 3%.
Yep.
That's why I think 80 is a little low. It may be 80, but 3% of your customers are telling you they have a problem, right? And I saw this in action. That means 97% of the people are not saying anything, just regular people. And you're saying 80% of entrepreneurs, but I'm saying 97% of just regular people don't tell others that they have a problem.
But I think I should qualify that a bit. Is 81%. I will say 99.9% hide it from the public. Right. I think there's 80% of the people aren't talking with other entrepreneurs because, like I said, a lot of this topic came up because I've been talking with, I've just been catching up when we got back to Edmonton here, going and grabbing a beer or some lunch with friends of mine. So many of them are entrepreneurs. And it's amazing how many of them, it's like they've got their game face on and they come in and they're smiling, they're talking with people and they're like, and like pictures, this. And then as soon as you get them, barely just like, hey, how's it going? And they're just like, dude, I am stressed. And they will like, and they'll just start like, it's like they've gone to confessional. They will talk with other entrepreneurs and open everything up to other entrepreneurs. Not all of them, I think, but my friends, like I still remember just a really good friend of mine, entrepreneur in town. I remember we get together for a drink, at least kind of try and do it about once a month or every couple months or whatever. Even if I'm down in Arizona or he's somewhere else, we try and do that online. And he walked up to my deck one day and he looks at me and he says, "So, am I talking you off the ledge or you talking me?" Probably a little bit of both. And he just laughed, and it's true. It's just what it is, right? So I think it feels to me like the 80% is very much, it's like they're not saying anything to anyone outside of a very small circle of possibly spouse, maybe family. But I bet you they would talk with other entrepreneurs. And that's why I keep recommending, it's like, hey, if you feel alone like that, you need to go talk with other entrepreneurs.
Yeah, I mean, is that the right person? Can another entrepreneur solve the problem? Right, and that's what I'm looking at.
Can't solve a thing. Can't solve a thing, but you'll feel better talking with them and having someone going through the same thing, right?
All right, so I'll tell you where my stat comes from, where I think it's true, right? Remember I told you about my grandmother, who was like 90 some years old, even ran for mayor of this little town. There's only 200 people in town, but they got like a little convenience store. They got a bank. They got a butcher shop. They got a restaurant, those type of things. She walked everywhere. She could walk 3 or 4 blocks to anywhere in town and be there.
Yep.
One holiday I go over there, I think it's 4th of July. I go over that way. And she says, hey, we got to go to the bank before it closes for 4th of July. It must have been 4th of July. 4th of July. We had to go the day before. So we walked down to the bank. And as we go into the bank, there's a guy. She called him Tom. Tom's sitting in the front at his desk, and he's on the phone. She's looking at him. Tom's on the phone. Doesn't look up, doesn't say hi, bye, kiss my ass, nothing. He just does his thing, right? She goes to the back where the teller's counter is, gets her money out, walks back, still staring at Tom. Tom's still on the phone. She walks out. We get out to the street, and she goes, did you see that? I'm like going, what? Like, what? What am I supposed to? There was nothing. We walked in the bank and walked out, in my mind.
Yeah.
She goes, no, Tom. He's known me for 30 years. He can't say anything. He can't wave. I'm like, well, he was on the phone with a customer. She goes, no one is ever too busy to just wave. Nobody's ever that busy where you can't just wave. Yeah, I know he's on the phone, but hey, wave at me. Acknowledge I walked in because I've been here since the bank was built, just about 90 some years old. All right. So it takes maybe 10 minutes to walk from her house over to the bank. It takes 30 minutes to get back to her house because every time there was a neighbor out in the yard, guess what we had to do? We had to stop and tell the neighbor, like, hey, you know what just happened to me down at the bank? Tom's so busy in Orangeville, Illinois, that he can't even wave from a phone call. She told everybody else. Guess who never knew he had a problem?
Yeah, of course, Tom. Yeah.
Tom didn't.
But
know.
I will say it's the opposite with an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
They would walk down the street and everyone they ran into, how are things? Going good. Mm-hmm. Going great. Working hard. Always working. Right. And they will go through 97% of the people, or 81, and say, good, great, doing good. Because you did, like the other one is like the biggest stress. Failure is the biggest stress. And how do people perceive failure? Right. And also just this feeling that, well, if you say you're struggling with something, it's somehow going to like kill your business. Right. So I think an entrepreneur would walk down the street but if they got to your porch and you were another entrepreneur, I think that's where they go, how are things? Good. Well, shit, maybe not totally good. You're the one they would tell.
Yeah, I agree. It's opposite. But that's why I asked you in the beginning, are they telling the right people? Because I said, can the other entrepreneur help? But if I tell my spouse, if I tell my family, my friends, and I have a sales problem or I have an employee problem where I need a position filled, am I telling the right people? Because you just said the other entrepreneur can't help.
Well, I shouldn't say they can't help. Depending on what the issue is, they might be able to help. But at least they're talking about it, right? But who else are you going to turn to?
Well,
okay, struggles with money. You're not going to tell the bank because you're going to be worried about it. If it's like you always are carrying this load of stress and anxiety, right?
And you're probably not going to tell your spouse. I bet less than half tell.
I bet you're right, because I think there's now I'm really fortunate. So Heather unfortunately has to hear everything, but I know it's a lot of entrepreneurs that it's the opposite, that anything that they would say would be really, really be stressful for their spouse. So they don't say a word ever.
Yeah. I'm going to carry the load. Yeah. I'm going to carry the load. 50-50. I don't want to worry you about that. But in some cases though, that's where you hear about the big blow-ups, the big stress, the divorce. I mean, you got to remember, divorce is one of the largest killers of small businesses in the world. Mm-hmm. Right?
And I suspect the number, the percentage is probably fairly high for entrepreneurs too, right? And because it is such a stressor. And if you can't share that, that makes it even harder, right?
Yeah, but if your spouse is surprised, like on, hey, I thought everything was good, and then all of a sudden you get like, it's too late, we can't even fix it. I don't tell you till the last minute, like on, hey, by the way, this house, we have to move. like what? Why do we have to move? well, because we don't have any money. We haven't had any money for several months, and oh, by the way, we have 2 mortgages on the house. So even if we sell it, we'll get $0. Yeah, that shit happens.
It does. I've hear of it, and unfortunately, not infrequently, right? And I think that's a support system that is invaluable if your spouse can be a support, right? But also like your business partners, your investors, like there should be a support system. And one of the stats I know, that was one of the other stats in here, was I think only 50% of entrepreneurs will actually share this with their co-founder or with their partner. They just don't. Now I'm curious if when I saw that stat, if it was, oh no, it's co-founder. I see it as another stat here. So they won't even share it with their own co-founders. Which that's a hard way to make a business succeed. If you're like what? That, but there's got to be a wall, right? It's not like I'm going to go on a stage in front of the world because I going all the way back to the start here, I actually think non-entrepreneurs don't give a shit. I think non-entrepreneurs, the going rate is entrepreneurs are entitled and spoiled and rich. That is what I think people think. But the stats say it's completely the opposite. It is absolutely the opposite.
The older I get, though, I think every single person, every single employee is an entrepreneur. He's like, what? Think about it. As an employee, you still have to sell. You have to sell yourself. And really, you're not selling a product. You're selling your service. You're selling your time.
It's not an entrepreneur.
It is.
That's sales.
Kind of. It's sales. What's the difference between entrepreneur and sales? What is it?
Sales is one small factor of an entrepreneur, but that says I would disagree. I'll disagree with you there that entrepreneur and sales, they don't equal as part of it. But an entrepreneur,
tell me the difference. Tell me the difference, because I'm selling my product. If I go to work and I deliver a terrible product, I'm going to get fired. Just the same way you do as an entrepreneur.
What's your product?
My service, whatever you hired me to do. Same way.
Hired versus innovating on what that is, right? Like an entrepreneur this is what I'm saying. An entrepreneur is responsible for everything. They're responsible for going, what's the market opportunity? Am I reselling a product? Am I building a product? Am I building a service? Am I reselling the service? How am I going to fund this? How am I going to manage this? What am I doing with HR? Like every single thing falls at the feet of an entrepreneur. Sales is just one of 1,000.
No.
So if
you
someone's
still
doing
have to
sales,
produce.
it's like good for them.
You still have to produce, and then you have to take that money that you get for this and run your household. There's a lot of similarities.
I actually don't think there is. I think you're stretching massively because it's just simply, and I hear this stuff. It's like, we'll be an entrepreneur in the business. It's like with no risk. With no outside of responsibility,
there is a risk. If you're terrible at your job, you get fired. The risk is you will lose your job, which you only have one customer. You have your employer as a customer. That's it. That's the big difference. We can spread risk across many customers as an entrepreneur. The employee only has one customer to satisfy, and that's the boss.
Yeah, I think like if you look at the stats though, like what would the stats be for the average person getting fired in a year? Like I fired, not leaving their job. Not even laid off but actually fired. Like, I don't think it's very high. Like whether there's similarities or not, that to me is like a similarity of someone playing road hockey and Connor McDavid. Yeah. They both maybe hold a hockey stick. There is not any level of similarity that I think is anywhere near that level.
I'm going to ask Chelsea, what percentage of employees get fired? Because I don't know. What percentage
But
of
also,
it, hey, what percentage of entrepreneurs that try to go be employees get fired?
oh, that's probably like 100%. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that because it's probably 90% that quit. 10% get fired.
Dude, this says that every month,
like,
all right, so 14 to 18% get involuntary separation, which is what they're calling fired. So almost 18%.
That's not the yeah, I don't know. It's a different metric. So it doesn't really line up. But what I'm saying is, like, even if someone walks away from a job, whether they quit or how many employees don't take a paycheck or put in a personal amount of money? How many employees, when they quit, have debt that goes with it, that have responsibilities, that have a bunch of money, rather than getting money? It's not like, oh, you owe me severance. That's the opposite of an entrepreneur, is like, I owe everybody severance, right? Like it is, there is a complete difference to me. That's like walking up the bunny slope on a hill or trying to go to the top of Everest. One of them, you're likely to die. And I think there's a massive difference.
Those are the big things right there. Like the way you set up your company, you might not get unemployment because you didn't pay into it. Right?
You don't.
the way you set it. You might not get workman's comp if you get hurt on the job because you don't pay into it. Right. I mean, as the employer. So the way you set up your company matters.
Mm-hmm.
But then nobody wants to do it because it takes money out of your check, right? Like you have to create an S corp that you can pay yourself as an employee, and then also pay workers' comp and those type of things. So even health insurance, right? Like I mean, even health insurance, the COBRA that goes past it is not the same for an entrepreneur.
Yeah, well, and I think the other side of it too is like, if you this term came up since COVID, quiet quitting. What do you think happens to an entrepreneur if they quiet quit? Because there's a lot of employees out there that they will stay on. Okay, first of all, I want to be very clear here. I'm not trying to attack employees at all. Like the businesses won't run without great employees. What I'm trying to say is that the employees, I think, are they have all of the attention, and entrepreneurs have basically zero. And entrepreneurs are building these businesses. Like, okay, Mike, tell me, until a business is substantially large and self-sufficient, and has a separate management team, how many businesses would survive without the entrepreneur, without the founders there?
Not many, if any.
None.
Yeah.
Like virtually none.
You think it's not? Yeah. There might be some. Okay, so here's what would happen. Somebody would take over that role in the 1 or 2% that succeeded.
An absolute tiny fraction, but in that part where you're building business, when you have the 30% die, the 50% die, you get to the 10-year mark, and it's like, okay, now it's kind of self-sufficient and it's running, and you maybe have a management team. All those other businesses up to that point, if the founder walks away, the company dies. All those jobs are lost. Every single one. Done yesterday. But all those employees can go get a job. They can all go apply for a job. They don't have a massive debt load. They're not going bankrupt because they've built up all of this debt. And, part of it, like even during COVID, how much pressure was on us from externally, but also internally, to not let people go, to not lay people off. Like there's obviously the exceptions where there's some business owners that don't value people, or they don't really give a shit. But I actually think that's beyond a rarity. I think most business owners see that they feel very responsible for their staff. Yeah. And they don't want to let them go. Like you hear it all the time. It's like the worst thing they've ever done is they kept staff too long when they weren't even productive, because you want to think the best of people.
Yeah.
that just goes onto the shoulders of the entrepreneur, right?
All right. So wave a wand. What support do we need as entrepreneurs? If you could wave a wand and it was there tomorrow, what would it be?
Well, I think that there should be some de-risking for entrepreneurs. Absolutely. Number one, de-risking finances for entrepreneurs, because as you can see, even small business doesn't make it 50%. But when you're talking about the ones that they push forward, that Silicon Valley, do this, do it, you should do it. There's such a push because innovation businesses like that tend to be a lot of times the ones that maybe outpace in growth and can create a lot of jobs and a lot of opportunity. We have a 10% chance of success. So how is that de-risked? And if you tell me it's venture capital, I'll probably throw up a little in my mouth, because you and I both know venture-backed companies die at a 75% rate. The pressure, in fact, I saw a stat here, the pressure on founders goes up, ramps up like a compound growth kind of thing. The pressure goes up when you take in venture cap money. And you and I also both know that the very few businesses that are venture backed that actually become successful, the entrepreneurs have been either let go, iced out. All of those deals with the ventures, with the VCs, have caveats that even if they sell for enormous amounts of money, a lot of times the entrepreneurs are iced out, right? Yeah. So there is a
what if this happened, right? I mean, while you were talking, because it's all about like the risk, and the risk is, hey, if I close down, I take the debt with me. Nobody else does. What if there was a one-time get out of jail free card where the debt was converted to equity, where whoever owned your debt, it was wiped off, but they owned a percentage of the company, whatever that came out to be. One time.
Well, first of all, I don't even think a one time even makes sense, because the people that have the best chance, and okay, it's a little different down in the US, to be honest, but the people that have the best chance, I think, at success in high risk businesses tend to be the ones that have actually been through it. And I think there's a bit of a culture down in the US that if you fail, you might be at zero, but you can walk away. What's your next venture? Come and talk with me, because I think you've now learned enough to be able to do it right. In Canada, if you fail, it's like, you loser, get lost, don't ever talk with us again. There's a bit more of a culture like that. But what if we looked at this, like, I think there's a lot of different ways that you could look at it and try and de-risk it. But if I look at these businesses, especially these high-tech businesses, 90% of them fail. There's a debt load on those entrepreneurs. There's years where they haven't paid themselves. There's debt that they have, personal guarantees. There's money they put into the business. That all happens, right? But all those employees have paid taxes the entire time. So is there also a way to go, shit, that company paid a hell of a lot of tax. Maybe we can forgive the tax money, the half of the tax money. You went out there and tried to build something. It failed. But in the meantime, the government made a whole shitload of money off of you. They should not have the right to walk away.
Well, and they didn't have to support anybody that was on unemployment, right? Those people were employed. They were coming to work. They were doing stuff.
Employed.
Yeah.
They're employed. They were making money. They were earning money, and they were paying taxes. And when you think about, if I think about just my, small circle of entrepreneurial friends, and I think about the salaries that we've all paid over the last 10 years, and then you start thinking, and it would not be, it would be a very short list to get over 100 million in salaries that have been paid by, a small circle of entrepreneurs that I know, a couple dozen, a dozen, whatever. And then you look at the tax load, the amount of taxes that have been paid in, the amount of impact we've had on the community, and how many of those founders, again, going back, it's like, 90% of them weren't successful. How does that add up? And another reason that this all popped into my mind and why it was sort of hitting me was the pressure we were under COVID. And then we got to the end of COVID and it's like the government's like, now you owe us a bunch of money. But the other thing is the amount of money. I'm just speaking of Canada. I can't speak for the US because I don't know enough about it. But the amount of money that comes from Canada that goes out to massive foreign enterprises to attract jobs, billions and billions of dollars goes out of our coffers here. And you know that, and I'm not begrudging this, but I'm saying that there are people that have their student loans forgiven. That's I'm not begrudging that, but what I'm saying is, well, what about the entrepreneurs? Because we're literally creating jobs. They've just got a job. They've just got a job. So can you say, let's match what we're doing here and let's actually help out some entrepreneurs because they're kind of left to their own devices all the time. And there's something a little bit odd about that, I think.
Hey, you know what's not odd is we did 202 episodes. This was a really powerful topic. And I've got to tell people, if you're right now an entrepreneur and you're struggling, you don't know who to talk to us, right? Reach out to us on Facebook, reach out to us on YouTube, doesn't matter. Talk to us, let us help somehow, right? Even if it's just near.
Yeah. And find a community, talk with other entrepreneurs. I know there's a ton of entrepreneur organizations. I'll be honest with you. The entrepreneur organizations are generally somehow about creating business and networking to create business and create revenue and everything else. The side benefit is you get to meet other entrepreneurs and talk about the things oftentimes that frankly matter more than some of the bullshit that these organizations push. Talk with other entrepreneurs and don't sort of live it alone because it is my God, it's hard. And, to see entrepreneurs that, 54% are stressed and the main stressor is the potential of failure. That's the norm, unfortunately. That is absolutely norm. Businesses, most of them fail, unfortunately. And if you're in the tech and innovation, your risk is really high and your chances of success are really low. I think you got to take pride in taking a crack at it. I think you got to take pride in taking a chance at it and talk with other entrepreneurs because you need that support. So that's kind of our message for the day. There's a lot of naysayers out there, but a lot of other entrepreneurs, they're the ones that won't be.
Yeah, you can do it. Hey, thanks for listening to Mike and Blaine, episode 202. And hey, if you want to be a beer sponsor, if you just want to talk to us, if you just want to buy our merch, it doesn't matter to me which way you want to go. But we're here because we believe in you, right? We're here because we believe in small business. Everything we do on a weekly basis is to give you what we have to you. Meaning our knowledge, our experience. Sometimes it's good, sometimes bad, but we're here. We're in it. We feel the same passion as you do. So what do you think? I usually don't get sentimental. And I almost got sentimental.
Yeah. If this is the first time listening to the show, usually we have just the dumbest, well, I should say dumbest, but very light topics. This was a little bit of a heavier one, but I think it was an important one. And I think we did a pretty good job, but not going too heavy on it, but just supporting other entrepreneurs because this show is all about entrepreneurs. It's all about entrepreneurs. It's all about business owners. We're here to support you. But go to mikeandblaine.com. Make sure you like, subscribe, follow, reach out to us. And if you want to be a beer sponsor, we would love it if you'd buy us a beer. And we'll talk about your business and spread the word a little bit.
Check out their website at mikeandblaine.com. Then subscribe to the podcast and buy these guys a beer.